The Mustang Prince is now 100% COVID-free. Recovery processing now.
Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. And boy, do I have some exciting news today. As you can see by my sticker and, of course, this bandage on my arm, I'm finally 100% vaccinated from COVID-19. A very special thanks goes out to the team who created Moderna and to the people who vaccinated me at the Anaheim Convention Center. So, in honor of this special event, let's talk about the human body. For those who are new to science, and of course health, which I doubt, the human body is the structure of a human which is composed of many different systems of cells that together create tissues and subsequently organ systems. And in my eyes, even though I'm a tad uncomfortable with the study of health, due to my fear of certain medical tools, and of course, I'm annoyed with my father's health lectures, I think the human body is a very mysterious subject. You know, when I was young, I was introduced to the study of the human body from, of all things, the Magic School Bus. Not only from the books or the TV show, but from the CD-ROM game as well. Plus, there were a few fun songs on Schoolhouse Rock's Science Rock volume that taught me about the digestion, the skeleton, the circulation, the respiratory, and the nervous systems. Heck, even some of my childhood teachers from Del Cerro got to teach me more about science and health during my elementary age. Also, way back in 1998, during my first and so far only visit to Epcot, I got to learn about the body at the now extinct Wonders of Light Pavilion, which included the Extreme Body Wars simulation ride, which was directed by the late Leonard Nimoy, and the fun Cranium Command, which I think might have inspired Pixar's Inside Out. Anyway, for today's blog, we're going to look at an animated movie from the early 2000s, which is set inside the human body, and let's see how it holds up today. So, released on August 10th, 2001, the movie is Osmosis Jones. So, let's get started. Taking place inside the body of a widowed man named Frank, a white blood cell cop named Osmosis Jones is one of the many cops who try to keep up peace and order. Unfortunately, Ozzy seems to be the only cop in town who does not act by the book, but by his instincts. But after Frank eats a germ-ridden egg, mortal danger arrives in the form of an evil and deadly virus named Thrax, who plans to kill Frank within 48 hours just to get his own chapter in the medical books. Accompanied by a cold tablet named Drix, Ozzy suspects that there is more going on than just a simple flu. Meanwhile, the arrogant Mayor Fleming is just more interested in his re-election than in real problems, and he tries to keep trouble down. So, it is up to Ozzy and Drix to stop the Red Death and save Frank. So, what do I personally think of this movie? Well, in my eyes, it was good on the inside, but it was meh on the outside. Also, this became one of Warner Brothers' biggest animated box office bombs. Man, it's been a long time since I used that gag, huh? Anyway, I think that aside from the mixed reception, the main reason why this movie bombed was due to the poor advertising, which was a common problem for Warner Brothers animated movies throughout the 90s and early 2000s. But anyway, let's move on to Mustang Notes. Now, believe it or not, this film has been through development hell during production. The animated sequences, directed by Tom Sito and Piet Kroon, went into production as planned, but acquiring both a director and a star actor for the live-action sequences took a considerable amount of time. As part of their contract, the Farrelly brothers were credited as the primary directors of the movie, although they had no supervision of the animated portions of the film. Plus, Osmosis Jones was originally going to be PG-13 by the MPAA for crude language and bodily humor in 2000. However, Warner Brothers edited the movie to make it more family-friendly, and during its theatrical release in 2001, the film was re-rated to PG on appeal for bodily humor. Also to note, the first trailer for Osmosis Jones was released in front of Pokemon 3 the movie Spell of the Unknown on April 6, 2001. Plus, this movie influenced a fully animated TV spin-off series called Ozzy and Drix, which I used to watch on Cartoon Network during my junior high age. Now, what are my thoughts on the animation? Well, to me, the animation for the inside of Frank's body is very creative. I mean, not only is there a huge city, but I also like the way the animators design and portray the bloodstreams as roads and highways. They make the armpit as a sauna, the nose having a dam, the big toe having a storage garage, and the zit as a nightclub, which to me is pretty clever. And I like that they characterize white blood cells as cops and germs and viruses as criminals and gangsters. Since, according to science, white cells fight germs while red cells carry oxygen for the body. As for the live action sequences, well, they're okay. But sometimes they're not very interesting to me, except for the part where Ozzy fights Thrax on Shane's false eyelash. As for the story, well, I like the fact that it's a buddy cop movie set inside the human body. However, my main flaw with this movie is the gross out stuff, like the puking, the runny nose, the zit nightclub explosion scene, and the nightmare scene in the subconscious, which was very disturbing. And that's basically all I got for Mustang Notes. So let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought him to life. Our main character, Osmosis Jones, is voiced by Chris Rock, best known as Marty from the Madagascar trilogy, and he recently narrated the 2020 Witches movie. I really like this guy, mainly due to his adventurous, rebellious, funny, and sometimes goofy personality. Plus, I think Ozzy's shape-shifting abilities is very handy and serviceable. Also, I thought Ozzy's backstory from 2 years prior did give him some character development, even though it got him demoted to patrol duty and it made Frank a laughing stock. Still, I like that Ozzy tries to keep Frank healthy and in shape. By the way, my favorite Ozzy moment is when he goes, "My name is," which happens right after the zit explosion. Next is Ozzy's partner, Drix, a stoic cold pill voiced by David Hyde Pierce, whom has been in Pixar's A Bug's Life and Disney's Treasure Planet. In my opinion, I think Drix is another great character. I mean, he has the personality of a brave firefighter due to his duty of covering up cold symptoms. Plus, I think his arm cannon is pretty cool. Also, I like that throughout this movie, Drix and Ozzy learn to get along and become basic friends. Next up, we have the police chief, voiced by Joel Silver, who had a minor appearance in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Now, in my opinion, this is a character who runs a very tight ship. He expects nothing but the best from Frank's finest. This means he he often clashes with Ozzy for disobeying orders as well as his inability to work with others. Though, despite Ozzy's frequent mishaps, the chief still thinks of him as a good to honest cop. Next is Mayor Fleming, voiced by William Shatner, best known as Captain James Kirk from the Star Trek franchise, and Grandpere from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. Now, this guy serves as the movie's secondary antagonist, mainly due to him being pompous, corrupt, reckless, and irresponsible, which makes him kind of like a mix of Richard Nixon and Mr. 45. And, of course, Fleming's policies are largely responsible for Frank's poor health. Also, not only does he seem to care about his dumb re-election, but he seems to mainly focus on Frank going to a chicken wing festival in Buffalo, New York. Plus, I think it's very stupid that Fleming believes that Frank is better off fat. And I thought the scene where he fires Ozzy for what happened at the Zit was really harsh, especially when he calls Drix a wannabe and a placebo, which, may I remind you, means bull shark. Next we have Fleming's secretary and Ozzy's love interest, Leia Estrogen, voiced by Brandy, whom I remember from the 1997 TV adaptation of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. And she was also in I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. To me, Leia is a hard-working and serious female red blood cell who wants to do what's right. Plus, I think Leia makes way more sense than Fleming does, due to her rushing to the hypothalamus when the map alerted her and when she sounded the alarm. Next we come to the main villain of the film, Thrax, voiced by Lawrence Fishburne, whom was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, TMNT, Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now this character is known as the Red Death, a pathogenic agent or a deadly virus that came from a filthy egg that Frank ate from the ground at the beginning of the movie. In my eyes, Thrax is not only badass, but he's also one of the most underrated animated villains from the early 2000s, mainly due to his cold, sadistic, murderous, and deadly personality. Plus, his long claw-like finger makes him extremely dangerous. While he did cause a sore throat and a runny nose, his main goal is to kill Frank within 48 hours, not only to beat his past records, but to also get his own chapter in the medical books. Now let's move on to the main human character, Frank Dettori, played by Bill Murray, who's best known from Ghostbusters, which is this close to becoming a trilogy this summer, as well as being in Space Jam, the live-action Garfield movies, and the 2016 Jungle Book remake. Now, while Bill Murray is a great actor, mostly, I feel like his role as Frank is kind of bland, due to him being, well, lazy and gluttonous. Also, I thought it was very stupid of Frank when he ate raw polluted oysters and a filthy egg. Also, I think the puking scene could have been handled better if he just excused himself to the bathroom. That way, he wouldn't have humiliated Mrs. Boyd or lost his job at the pea soup factory. But at least he got a decent job at the zoo anyway. Finally, we come to Frank's 10-year-old daughter, Shane, played by Elena Franklin. To me, Shane is way more memorable and likable compared to her dad, and I like that she wants her dad to eat more healthy. Despite that she felt a long loss over the death of her mom, Shane cares for her dad, and she loves to be with her friends, and she seems to have a good time with them. But after Frank is taken to the hospital, Shane becomes very scared and almost heartbroken when Frank nearly dies. Other members of the cast include Molly Shannon, Chris Elliott, Steve Susskind, Carlos Alazraqui, Antonio Fargas, Roger Bumpus, Paul Christie, Kid Rock, Doug Stone, Sherry Lynn, and, surprising of all, Ron Howard. Interesting. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Osmosis Jones is a decent movie, but not perfect though. Sure, the animation is creative and cool, the plot is interesting, the main characters, Ozzy and Drix, are memorable and fun, the villain Thrax is badass, underrated, and intimidating, Mayor Fleming is an arrogant jerk, Frank is okay, but he's mostly a bland couch potato, but at least his daughter Shane is more likable. However, the gross out humor like the puking, the runny nose, and the zit explosion are the only flaws with this movie for me. Still, if you can ignore those parts and that nightmare scene, you should give this movie a watch at least once. And I think it's an okay movie when it comes to promoting good health. I give this movie a 61% out of 100. Well, that's all for now, patients. Be sure to join me next time, where I look at a very relatable animated family movie, which was released last year on Netflix. Mustang Power. And remember, stay safe, stop the spread, keep on washing your hands, and until you get a vaccine, keep on wearing your masks.